What's going on, everyone? I'm Jiffy Nano, and I hope you enjoyed that cheesy intro montage as much as I enjoyed making it. I noticed a lot of the new Borderlands content creators have been doing stuff like that, so I had to give it a go in my own style, which is apparently every YouTube montage circa 2005. Anyway, it's been quite a while since my last build video, so let's address that real quick. I have a thing about quality. Even right now, I know that intro video you saw was good, but I know I could do better, and it bleeds into my builds as well. I never want to use exploits or glitches to get the most out of a build. I feel like glitches and exploits are more flash in the pan kind of things, and down the line they'll either be fixed or changed, leaving those builds useless. With all that being said, I want to preface this with this build is very gear dependent and pretty much requires a couple of these items to have the anointments they have to function as well as it does. On the bright side, you only need 2 items to have perfect anointments. But first, if you want to see more builds, gear guides, and other shooter and looter related content, be sure to subscribe and hit that bell because I'm excited to try covering all kinds of games this year, so you're not going to want to miss it. Also, I need to give Senior Milkman a huge shout out. They and a couple others in my Twitch chat helped me come up with this build and sent me some items to help farming for stuff way less painful. This build would not be nearly as powerful without them, and if you guys ever want to be part of the build process, doing Circles of Slaughter or takedowns with me, or just hang out, discuss Borderlands and other games, come visit my Twitch channel, link in the description. I stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday afternoon, and I would love to have you. So getting right into the skills, there's a couple that I want to discuss individually, but I'll run through the rest pretty quickly, but here is an overview if you just want to see that. The first thing you'll notice is I have no capstone skills. Blitz is a really cool melee override skill and grants 100% melee, which the face puncher gets all the time, but having tested it against my current spec, I was doing less damage and missing out on other quality of life skills. So we're going to go over the Brawl Tree first. 5 points into Clarity for the health regen, 3 points into Samsara for more health regen, and 2 into Helping Hands just to break into the next tier. If there's anything that this build is lacking, it's survivability. Not that you'll have a problem staying alive, but most of our health regen comes from shooting enemies, so Clarity and Samsara should keep you alive between reloads and top you off between fights. The last skill we want in the Brawl Tree is Find Your Center. This gives you 100% melee damage and extends your melee range after using your action skill. Melee range doesn't come into play very often, but if you're reloading and need a quick heal, this could be useful. Next up, the Fist of the Elements tree. So 5 points into Infusion. Usually this skill isn't very desirable because it can actually reduce your DPS depending on what elements you mix, but since we're using the Face Puncher which has no elements, matching your Infusion with what you're fighting is a pretty huge damage boost. 4 points into Anima. I have to not put 5 points in here to save 1 for later, but it's not a bad option if you only want to put 4 points into Infusion and max this out. 5 into Tempest. This is pretty much a must-have for any Amara build, especially when elemental damage is involved. Elemental damage is multiplicative, so you want as much as possible. And 1 last point into Illuminated Fist. Like I said, elemental damage is multiplicative, so the 75% damage from this is almost doubling our damage output and making all of our melee damage elemental. So with the Mystical Assault tree, we're on to some quality of life skills in our big synergy skill. We're going to start off with 3 points in Fast Hands, pretty much only for the reload speed, 1 point in Do Harm, and 1 point in Violent Tapestry. This is just so we can get to the next tier, and they allow us to get rush stacks. We don't need any more than 1 in each skill since Elemental Dots nor our action skill are our main damage dealers. 5 points into Restless and 5 into Alacrity. These are both for reducing your downtime to as short as possible. The biggest downfall to this build is that most of our damage comes from the 10 seconds after you phase slam, so you want to make the most of those 10 seconds as much as you can. Preferably also get another slam in before those 10 seconds are up. Note I don't take Transcend here because the face puncher can't crit. So now for our big synergy skill, Laid Bare. This skill was one of the reasons I made this build in the first place, and our class mod, the Golden Rule, gives 3 extra points into this skill, making enemies damaged by our action skill take 50% extra damage for 8 seconds from all sources. The last 4 points you can put wherever you feel like you want them, but I like to put 3 in Wrath for the flat 20% gun damage and additional 20% after action skill use for a total of 40% gun damage, and the last point usually goes into Remnant. We are also taking normal Phase Slam as our action skill because it's got the quickest cooldown and duration, and the Stillness of Mind as our augment to give you a slightly easier shot or a second to reload. Now on to the gear. This is where this build can be kind of painful to set up. On the bright side, you only need 2 of these items to have specific anointments, the first one being the Face Puncher. This is a legendary Hyperion shotgun that shoots your melee damage, and as you saw, we have a lot of melee damage stacked up in our skill set. The painful thing is that you really want a redundant Face Puncher with the 300% weapon damage on Face Slam anointment. A non-redundant Face Puncher with 300% weapon damage on Face Slam will work, but that Face Slam anointment is extremely important. Now, I think I just heard a collective groan from everyone watching, and I get it. Farming this stuff is a pain, and I had to trade for this guy myself. Same for the shield, which is not any easier to get a hold of. So I have a level 1 and a level 50 Brawler ward, both with 300% melee damage passive and the 200% melee damage after Phase Slam anointment. The reason I have a level 1 is because you want this shield to be broken as often as possible. This shield when broken can almost double your damage output on its own. Now, I get that a lot of people don't like level 1 shields because it's kind of an exploit to get them, even though it's not really. For that reason, I am including a little 50 Brawler Sword with the 200% melee damage phase slam anointment, and it works just as well, it just takes a little more work to get your shield broken. And those are the two most painful items to get in this kit. They're a pain in the ass to get, but these two items probably make up about 70% of your damage output at the end of the day, so they're extremely important to have. On the other hand, the rest of this is icing on the cake. We have a Golden Rule class mod with 3 points in the Laid Bear and 2 in the Mindfulness. My passives kind of suck for this, but you'll want melee damage, action skill cooldown, and Hyperion damage. For whatever reason, shotgun damage does not work with a Face Puncher. I am also running an It's Piss Grenade with 50% corrosive damage on action skill end. Any grenade will work as long as it has a 50% elemental damage on action skill end anointment. These anointments are multiplicative, so there's some serious damage boosts. The It's Piss itself debuffs all enemies hit, causing them to take 20% more damage. This isn't necessary, but it's nice when you're trying to speed kill bosses. Now, our artifact is actually kind of important. At the very least, you want a Knife Drain prefix on something and a Cut Purse prefix on something to replenish ammo. The Knife Drain prefix gives you 75% lifesteal on melee hits, which works with the Phase Puncher because it's shooting your melee. And this is pretty necessary when it comes to mobbing, especially in the more difficult areas like Slaughter Shaft and Takedown. So as long as you have a Knife Drain prefix and a Cut Purse prefix, you'll be fine, but the absolute best artifact you can have, hands down, is the Knife Drain Static Charge. The Static Charge causes your melee to do bonus shock damage that chains to other enemies after sliding, but with the Face Puncher it just gets the bonus all the time for whatever reason, whether you slide or not, which means you're always getting a bonus 50% shock damage, and it kinda causes your Face Puncher to do a weird Brainstormer effect. For the artifact, you're going to look for melee damage, gun damage, and action skill cooldown for passive bonuses, which would be the best if you're lucky enough to get them. I also have a Firestone Static Charge so I can get triple elements, and the 80% damage is multiplicative, so doubling your damage output is really nice for speed killing bosses, but you're giving up all your healing. I was also doing some experimenting with the Shooting Star Shield, but with its inconsistencies it works, but it's not always working, so it's not really worth it, but I'll include it in a save file as well. Last few things I have are an Ion Cannon for second wins in the harder areas, and a Boss Execute for damage debuffs on bosses, and a Sellout for self-damage to proc the cooldown rate on the Golden Rule. Now, that was the gear, so let's talk about how you get this build to work. You need to work on a rotation of popping your shield with a Sellout, swapping to your Face Punch before you slam, getting all your damage at once, and trying to go ham until your slam is back, rinse, and repeat. It's kind of a pain in the butt, and I fucked it up a lot. But this build is honestly the most fun I've had since Mayhem 4 was added. I always have a strange urge to go against the grain and play the off quote-unquote meta, if you will, so while everyone was riding the Spiritual Driver train and the Recursion, I was desperately trying to make melee work. And after quite a while and some help from friends, this is what I came up with. Super big thanks to everyone in my Twitch chat who helped theorycraft this build and the people I was able to trade with. I know these hypergear dependent builds are a pain to farm for, so I will be dropping the save file in my Discord, link in the description. For all you PC players, download it to just give it a try, or use the gear for your own build video. I don't care, whatever you do, I'm glad I could help. Console players, unfortunately there's no way of converting PC saves into console saves, so good luck. And if I find out or anyone figures out a way to convert saves, I'll drop it in the pinned comment. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video or thought it was helpful, don't forget to hit that like button and let me know in the comments what y'all think, and feel free to leave suggestions for other builds. This video is really fun to make, and I'm glad to be back on track for bigger productions like this. If you want to see more of my content, consider subscribing and clicking that bell so YouTube notifies when I upload, and check out my Twitch channel where I stream Monday, Wednesday, and Friday afternoons. Link is in the description. We play Borderlands, a bit of Tarkov, a little bit of everything. So I hope to see you drop by. Y'all have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.